Let's go back to the font page here and scroll down. And the reason why we're coming back here is that I want to demonstrate how we would figure out how to adjust the font if we didn't know how to do so. At some point, you're going to want to adjust some visual property on your page, and you're not going to know exactly what CSS to use. So what we're doing here is just demonstrating how we can use one site, w3schools.com, in order to tease out those properties that we might want to use. So after we scroll down, we see the next property, which is called font style. So we have font style right here. And we have normal, italic, and oblique. And you can see the descriptions of these. If you know what italic is, it should be pretty clear that what this will do is kind of lean our text to the side. And we know from the design, if we jump back to it, that all of our text is upright, so we don't want it to be italicized. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to create a new window for this reference, and I'll move it to the right side of the page, and then I'll move our example page to the left-hand side, so we can look at these at the same time. Okay, so we'll scroll down past font style, font size. Now it's clear that the size of our font is not the same as the size up here, so let's see how we might do this. First, it shows us how to set the font size with pixels, and then it shows us how to set it with EM. Now, what we're going to do for a while is use pixels because they're a little bit easier to understand, but we'll come back to the idea of other measurements, including EMs and REMs, a little bit later. So here's how we set the font size. This is something that we did in an earlier example too with our heading. We actually set the font size to 40 pixels. So let's go back over here, and we still have the styles for this heading showing here in the lower right hand corner. So what I'm going to do is click the last value of the last property that we added, and I'll hit tab in order to go to the next line. And I'll type in font size, and I'll hit tab in order to autocomplete. So let's test out what 40 pixels would look like. Okay, you can see the size jump a little bit, and what we're most concerned with here is the height of our letters. And we can eyeball this for a little bit, so if I go back down here and I change it to 30, it looks a little too small. Maybe I can go to 34. That's starting to look about right. Now, if we didn't want to eyeball this, there's a couple other ways we could measure. So the first is by going into Photoshop and selecting the text that is our title and looking at the character size. So in this case, it's 32.39 points. And in Photoshop, points correspond with pixels. So the nearest whole value will be 33 pixels. So we're pretty close to that by selecting 34 pixels. Another way we can measure is by using a measuring tool for our screen. And this can be handy especially if you don't have Photoshop or if you need to make some quick measurements. In Mac, you can use a built-in screen capture tool. What I do is I press Control, Command, Shift, and then 4. And you can see this little cursor appear with a number. And if I drag this around the outside of the text, I'm going to try to get way up close, and I try to just get the vertical value, you can see that this measures at 27 pixels tall. So chances are that 27 was a little small. We might have gotten a little bit too close when drawing that square. But also if we measure the font as we have it right now, so I hit my Command Control Shift 4, I know it's kind of a crazy keyboard shortcut, and we measure the height of this right now, we have about 29 pixels. You can see the second number there. It's very small. But what this means is that there's a little bit of white space to the top and the bottom of our characters when using this font. And some fonts are just like that. If you happen to be using a Windows machine, there's a tool called Cropper. I'm going to jump over to my Windows virtual machine here that you can find on cropper.codeplex.com. And once you have it installed, you'll see a little icon at the bottom of your screen. You can click it, and it will add this box overlay. And you can drag this around and measure anything on the page. And you can see as we move it, we can get a sense of how tall and how wide this box is. And then you can just hit escape in order to remove it. All right, I'm going to jump back to my Chrome window.